So now, you have some question? Right? During meditation, the next sentence is tricky. What is the trick? To continue to remain fully awake and not slide away into deep sleep. I think many people have that question. Okay. Or is there any way to set a self-alarm to become aware in deep sleep? Now, second part is difficult. First part, what is the trick to continue to remain? First, let's examine why we fall asleep sometimes in deep meditation. The fact that unless you're tired or something else, which is a physical affair. Suppose I traveled a lot and I'm very tired and I sat down to meditate. Understood, possible. Or I worked very hard in the garden and I'm very tired, so sat down to meditate, I fell asleep. These are simple remedies, which means sit down when you have not traveled so long or when you've not done too much work, find a time when you're relaxed and do it. I mean, this is simple. But there is a reason why, even when you have not exerted yourself too much, everything is okay, but you sit down to meditate and you fall asleep. This is something which we need to look at carefully. We need to find out the reason why before we can handle it, right? The reason is the mind has temporarily calmed down in meditation. Yes, it has. Since it's calmed down, and it's not clear, pure, and unagitated enough in its roots, the mind which is kind of calmed down would like to slip into deep sleep, because there it's quiet and nice and calm. That is also okay, but that awareness won't be there. You will be only deeply asleep. So there are two ways of looking at this. It can't be worked out while you are meditating. You asked for the trick. There's no trick actually. In the morning, when you wake up, when you feel that I don't want to get up, when you feel that I switch off my alarm, I sleep 5 more minutes. In that state, instead of allowing yourself to go to sleep, just push yourself up from your bed, flash some cold water in your eyes, and come back and sit down. Don't lie down, then again you're gone. Sit down. Then there is a possibility of you meditating without entering into sleep. Meditation in its pure essence is actually deep sleep with awareness. But you can't induce it through deep sleep. That's the only problem. State-wise, if you look at it. It is a state when everything is as quiet and as settled as in deep sleep, but you're aware. So, this is something that you can do. The other thing you can do is, as I said, physical. Sit down to meditate when you're not tired. And sit down to meditate when you have not had a full meal. That could also cause sleep. If it causes every day, then control your food a little bit and try and do a couple of days fasting. Nowadays, everybody I meet is doing interim fasting. I don't know what it means, but what is that actually? Oh, intermittent, yes. Sounded like an electric circuit. Yeah.
Intermittent fasting is a popular technique that gets combined with the keto program, and
Combined with what?
with ketogenic.
Keto. What is keto?
Oh my gosh. Well, let's just stick with intermittent fasting. It's a health technique where you compress the hours where you eat during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And people start with 12 hours on and 12 hours off,
Mm-hmm.
and they end up getting down to as much as...
Right. So what do you think about
they get
it?
down to getting to eating only 8 hours a day, and then the rest is no food, and it has a lot of health benefits.
What do you think about it? It's good?
Oh yeah, I do it. I'm on the full keto diet and also intermittent fasting, and sometimes I get less than 8 hours a day. It lets the digestive system relax and heal and clear everything out.
She's not finished. So, if it works for you, it's okay. I'm only saying that wherever I go, I hear this word, intermittent fasting, and something ketone? Keto. Well, to be frank, I am now 74 years running, and I'm going close to 75. I've never had a water? I never had a ketone diet, nor did I do any intermittent fasting. I eat less. I don't eat too much, and I try to keep that discipline. So maybe it works for some. Well, I didn't.
3 years old. You're not 74.
Okay, thank you. So it's okay if it works for you, if you feel good. Stick to it. I was just mentioning that nowadays you meet anybody, they are on some kind of a diet. And in the Jain, among the Jains, they do a lot of fasting. So the Jain Munis, what they do is, they have only one meal, which is close to intermittent fasting actually. It's a very ancient system. They have one meal. Around before sunset they have their food. So they have a meal. The problem is, nowadays, that one meal has become an elaborate ceremony. And you eat enough for 3 days. But, that's not a good idea, right? How do you know that? If you look at their tummies, you know it. But the Digambaras, those who don't wear, there is a sect of Jain sadhus who are called Digambaras. Digam means direction, which means they are clad in the 4 directions, which means they don't wear any clothes. That's what it means. It's a nice way of saying I'm not wearing anything. For Digambaras, they are naked. For them, a little big tummy is good. Doesn't attract too much attention. So otherwise, but I'm not, really seriously. But there are also very thin Digambaras. But the practice of linking your health and your spiritual practice with fasting is age-old. Fasting in the sense that when you reduce your food intake regularly, or sometimes you said intermittent, whatever, it does keep your body in good shape. Especially if you do asanas, it's a good idea to do that. But I'm a little bit worried about people having one meal if it's a big meal. That's not the way. You can have 2 meals, but keep it less. Keep the quantity less. The main thing is neither to overeat nor to starve. This is a good principle. to follow for yogis who want to meditate and not fall asleep while meditating.
So the question is in reference to the statement in the
Quieten
Upanishad that the experience of Brahman is just for the blink of an eye. And then you mentioned Ramana Maharshi, who was in samadhi all the time. So the question was, when one is in samadhi all the time, isn't that constant, lengthy contact with Brahman? And my answer was, when one is in Brahman, there's no time. So
you got it.
Is that
Perfect. He's right. You're right. See, you'd think that somebody is in constant samadhi, therefore it's a long time. No. From the point of view of the person who is in it, it's this splash. Now, Maharishi is, I have no doubt that he touched something profound. I have no doubt, personally. Many people. With him, the thing is, everything happened naturally. What I'm trying to say, that it's difficult to imitate a person like that. While it's a good thing to try, but you cannot imitate a person like that. Look, at the age of 13, 14, somebody, a young man, you must remember that the young man had a moderate diet. Nobody told him to. Ate less, didn't eat any animal products, led a quiet life. Probably belonging to the section of society which he came from, he did the Gayatri. Maybe. We don't know, probably did, because those days people did. And then at the age of 14, and there was another characteristic which was natural to him. He slept like a log. It was the parents and other elders found it very difficult to wake him up from sleep. And to sleep he required no effort. All he needed was something to put his head on, which is a sign that there's something going on inside. Even though he was not practicing meditation, he didn't have a guru or a teacher, and he was not studying any scriptures, nothing. And then one day, at the age of 14, I think 14 or 15, so he was 14 and he was just lying on his bed, probably trying not to study for the exams. Very good sign of intelligence. And he was just lying there with his eyes closed, and he suddenly thought that he was dead. I mean, nobody told him anything. He didn't study anything, no reference, no nothing. He felt that he died. And then he actually saw, now which is not easily possible for most people, that the body was dead, but he was separate from the body. This is also not common. You might think so, but you won't actually experience it, right? You may think, oh, I'm not the body, but he actually saw that he was away. He was in a complete different, and the body was an attachment which was lying there. And he said to himself, so this body is dead. So he lay down in the posture in which he had seen dead bodies, which are taken away from cremation, lying straight with his hands like this. And then he found that he was actually different from the body. Not feel or think, he was, consciously. It's not as if we say, I am not my body. That is my mind saying, right? And then, in that process, the question entered his mind, if I am not this body, I see that I am not, then what am I really? Am I the mind or am I something beyond? This question entered his mind. And all the days after that, when he left home, he wrote a note saying that he is going in search of his father. And nobody need to look for him. And he left. And he didn't know exactly where he was going. Because after that experience, his mind was in kind of a cloud. It was not clear. He only knew that he was being pulled to go somewhere. So he went. So wandering all the way from Madurai by foot, he reached Tiruvannamalai. For some reason that place was attracting him. We don't know. He had no guru there, nothing. What I'm saying is these are unique individuals. You cannot imitate these. And he reached Tiruvannamalai, he went to the temple and he was emotionally very attached for some reason, which he still didn't know why. And his thought was all the time revolving around, if this is not me, then what is it? Who am I? What am I? And some people don't know some of these facts, Below the Tiruvannamalai temple, Shiva temple, there is a underground chamber. People refer to it as Patala Gufa. That means cave of the nether worlds. Nobody knew how, but he quietly entered there and sat down. He didn't move. No food, no drink, nobody knows. Until there was a man in those days in Tiruvannamalai who was not a yogi in the sense of he didn't teach anybody anything, or his name was Sheshadri. He was quite a peculiar man, that's all people can say. You'll be talking in somebody's house and suddenly he'll say, okay, light the agarbattis, they are moving, and things like that. Now, could be mistaken for mental problem also. Sheshadri Swami, he was simply called Sheshadri, he got to know that there is a young man sitting in the Patal Gufa, meditating, trying to find his true self, already having known that he is not the body. So he went in search of him, and entered the cave. When he found him sitting there, his complete body was filled with scorpions sitting around. Because in that place they were full of scorpions. They found an immovable being sitting and they all joined together and sat. He came and turned them, scared them away, removed all these things, took him out, gave him a bath, cleaned him up. For days he has been sitting there, gave him a little bit of food to eat, and then he kept him for a day with him. Next day he has gone. Then he climbed up the Skandashrama, the mountain, the Arunachala, and there is a cave called the Skanda cave. He went and said, nobody knew. He sat there perhaps for many days, and meanwhile, a young man from neighboring Kerala came to him, and he felt that this man is not eating any food. He said, I should look after him. His name was Kunjaswami. So he came and he started making a little bit of food for him. And when he said okay, he used to feed him. They became good friends. And when he was not meditating, he learned how to read and write Malayalam from him. What you must understand is that Maharshi, while he was doing all this, was not a dullard or a mental case. He was a very practical man. Later on in his life, when the Ramana ashram was on, he used to get up at 4:30 in the morning and go to the kitchen and cut vegetables. And when they cut vegetables, he would take the stem of the brinjal and keep it away, saying, on a needy day we could make pickle out of it. And when in his spare time, he made walking sticks out of stray pieces of wood that they gathered. You still can find some beautiful walking sticks, only with a penknife. It's not as if he was perfectly all right that way. So anyway, the story goes. So he went up and sat in the cave there. There was also a lady, an old lady who used to bring him food sometimes. Sometimes he would eat, sometimes he would not. But what was required for the body was provided somehow. He sat there for many years. He did have no intention in coming out and telling anybody anything. And he had no intention of going away from there. He was quite happy there. Then one day, a man who was well known as a scholar in the south, called Ganapati Shastri. In fact, he was a poet, he was a political worker, he did many things. A man, a very orthodox man, who had studied all that is to be studied as far as the Shastras are concerned. Anything you know in the Shastras, he would know it. Shri Vidya, Tantras, Yantras, Yoga, Vedanta, you name it. He knew everything. Agamas. And then one day, but knowing all this, in fact, he was given a title Kavyakanta. This means a great poet, jewel among poets, Ganapati Shastri. So this Shastri ji, after having studied all this and practiced Kundalini Yoga, practiced Sri Vidya, everything, he felt that there was some kind of a barrier between him and the truth, which he couldn't. He went to many places, asked many people, suggested, but there was always, he meditated. Beyond that, there was some barrier. He couldn't, whatever he wanted to do. So when he came to Tiruvannamalai, mainly to go to the temple, somebody told him there is a young Swami sitting up there in the cave, perhaps he might be able to help you, who knows, go try, but he doesn't speak. So he went up the hill and he saw this young man sitting there with his eyes open, not closed. But the open eyes were not registering anything. They were open, but they were not registering. They were neither blinking nor registering any recognition. It was just staring into mid-air kind of eyes. He sat there for quite some time. You must admit that the man, after all this knowledge, was humble enough to wait for an hour without a single word, without this man even looking at him. What would we do normally? Enough, let's get out of here. He sat. At the end of an hour or so, roughly, he opened his eyes. Opened his eyes meaning his eyes alighted on him, defocused, focused on him. And he saw this man sitting there, so he didn't know why he was sitting there. So he did this. It means what? Why are you sitting here? Ganapati Shastri was waiting for this cue, that he asking, why are you sitting here? He started. So it took him around 10 to 15 minutes to finish. He told him his entire history, which family he came from, which gotra he was from, what is their sutra, what is my family, what did I study from. This whole thing, it took him around 10 to 15 minutes to say, and what he has practiced and why it is. And then in the end he said, with all this I still have this barrier which I am not able to bear. Can you help? Maharishi listened without a word. And then he said only one sentence in Tamil. He said, "Koncha neram summa irukka mudiyuma? Can you shut up for a minute?" 1 minute. Can you just keep quiet? Can you just shut up? Which means his mind was wandering and trying. He said, if you can only shut this mind up, quiet, shut up, just keep quiet. You will find the answer. So look, now you must understand, the man who listened to this was a man who was well prepared. This is important. If I go and sit, or somebody goes in, and he says, shut up, you say, oh, you shut up. He said, shut up, and he shut up. And he knew what was happening, and everything stopped, and he said, now I got it. So he said, okay. This man came down and told everybody he would meet that there is a Maharishi here, why are you wasting time? My doubt is solved, I'm free. Go meet him. So people started going. So he was responsible. And then his mother came somehow, because he became somewhat well known. Mother came to know that he is there, so she came, and he didn't want her to stay in the cave. So he crossed the road, shifted and made a small kutir, and that's how this whole thing came up. Now people go there and walk around the mountain, they think salvation is attained, and come back. Giri Pradarshana. Somebody asked Maharshi once, no, go, it's good. Somebody asked Maharshi once, my mind is, I sit down and my mind is wandering. And you seem to be going around the mountain every day. Your mind is still. How is this happening? And he said, look, if your mind is wandering while you're sitting down, but please walk. So, the teaching of the Maharshi was so clear and fair. I hear people going and saying, I went to Tiruvannamalai, 40 years I had a tummy ache, now it is gone. Maharshi is not sitting there for your tummy ache, mind you. He said something so profound. He said, find out your true identity, because I found out mine. So, from our village near Trivandrum, a building contractor who was a construction man, whose name was Bhaskar Nair. Actually, I think my father told him to go to Trivandrum. I don't know who told him. In those days, he passed away in 51. I was very small when Maharshi. This man went there. He had a lot of financial trouble, so somebody told him to go and pray to Maharshi all your. So he went there, and Maharshi was sitting as usual. He went there, and the first thing he asked, do you know Malayalam? He said yes. We told him all his financial difficulties. Maharshi smiled and said, who is having these difficulties? Who are you? The man got so angry. He said, did I come all this way to know I am Bhaskar Nair? What do you think? So, it's like that. But the show goes on forever.
So Guruji, the Mandukya, the U, between the A, U and Ma, why is the dream represented by U? Is it the bridge between life and death, like awake and death? Deep sleep?
Yeah, it's just that when the Upanishad was taught, and when Om was split into three parts, A is the beginning, so they wanted to represent A as the waking state. See, in life, when you wake up from sleep, that is when life begins. So it is the beginning, right? Yeah. From there, what is the next stage one goes before deep sleep?
Dream.
Dream, rapid eye movement, REM sleep. Right? So therefore, the U became dream. And the Ma became the deep sleep. That's why.
When we meditate, how do we differentiate? Like sometimes we experience things. How do we differentiate if we are imagining or it's really our experience?
Look, in deepest of meditations, you don't see anything. There's only pure awareness. So there is no scope for saying whether it's from my mind or whether it's from outside. It's only when you see something that is one would describe as visions or something like that, then only this question arises. Honestly, it is very difficult to say whether it is only from your mind or something else. Honestly. Because we can't say. Only that person can figure out. I can't say this. Right? Because when the what happened? Oh. I thought you were slowly coming like this. But remember this, as long as whatever you feel and see in your meditation, no matter whether it is real or from your mind, as long as it is conducive to your spiritual life and meditation, welcome it. Don't try to push it away. You cannot push it away. It will come anyway. Ultimately, it will all settle down. It has to settle down. And there can be only pure awareness. Now that pure awareness, when it happens, it will not happen, in the beginning it may happen in yourself. As it deepens, you will find that it is everywhere. It's an all-pervading awareness. It's not confined to one center, but in the beginning it starts as one center. You go into that center and then soon it's all everywhere. It's only when it's seen as everywhere does one come to the stage when one neither needs to enter it or get out of it.
So during meditation, the mind races from one thought to another. How to quieten the mind to a point where it can get into meditation?
Yes, so now this depends on what kind of meditation one is doing. There are many kinds of meditation. The word meditation is an English word, right? Meditation. In the textbook called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is the standard textbook usually, on yoga, which deals with meditation and so on. Now the word meditation is not covered by Patanjali with one word. It's covered with 3 words. Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, then comes dharana. So normally when we say meditation, we mean dharana. Right? Dharana, dhyana and samadhi. Now samadhi is culmination, so leave it out. Dharana and dhyana are the 2 words we need, right? So dharana, normally when I say meditation, it means I am fixing my attention on something, which is dharana. You need to do it until it becomes fully one-pointed. Now, if you say, I am doing dhyana, this is not possible. You can only do dharana. When the mind, without a break, is on that point, continuing, then it becomes dhyana. You cannot do dhyana. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say. So, if your mind is moving away while you do dharana, bring it back again and again. There is no other way. Now, one way in yoga, in Kriya Yoga, is to bring the mind to the breath. You see, you cannot keep the mind unoccupied because it's like nature. You can't keep it a vacuum. The moment you make it a vacuum, something will enter into it. The mind is like that. Try your attempt to keep it, it's not possible. Something or the other will come in. At least the thought, I am keeping it blank. People tell me that now when I meditate in my depth of meditation, I am not thinking. I said, who is that now? Little fellow saying, I am not thinking. So I am there. So, the only way you can work on this is to give the mind something to occupy itself. The external ways of occupation is mantra japa, fixing your attention on some devata, and so on and so forth. But the best is the internal attention. To give internal attention, you need to keep the mind absorbed in something. What is the best thing internally that you can absorb? The breath. Now this breath is common to all, right? So, what we are suggesting in Kriya, for instance, we call it hamsa. Hamsa simply means, since the mind cannot remain unoccupied for more than half a minute, occupy it in the breath. Give it its natural run. Occupy it as you breathe in, give complete attention to the breath. Get interested in the breath. Say, I'm going to examine this breath. What is this breath? Let me find out. Give it complete and say, how do I find out? Let me observe carefully. Where is it going? How is it going? So give it, and as you breathe in, inhale, in your mind you can imagine that you are chanting hum. Well, if you don't want that also, take a phone, keep it with you, and in your own voice say hum, sa, record. Put it in your ears. When your breath is going in, hum. When your breath is going out, sa. Keep watching this and listening to the sound. You'll soon find that your mind gets completely occupied with this. Yeah, there are times when it goes, bring it back. And then don't think, after this, what am I going to do? Just say, I'm looking at this. Don't even try to change or what is going to happen. Stay with it. When you stay with it, you'll know what is going to happen, which I don't want to tell you. Then you will want that to happen, which I told you, right? Stay. Let it happen. First thing, I won't tell you. Then you will imagine that. Who should I? Oh, we have a very senior student. Bolo, bolo. Bolun.
Hello. In the dreams, I have this multiple characters in the dreams.
The what character?
In my dream or anybody's dream, there is this multiple characters in the dream.
Yes.
But my ego is attached to only one of them. And that is an exact equivalence of now, because what I identify with is only with this form. But I have been told that this is me ever since I was a child. I see it in the mirror, and I cannot think of an instance in my dream where I have looked into the mirror and seen what form I have in the dream. Now my question, request, Anurodh, is how do I resolve, even though all the characters are sprouting in my mind and they're all me, why is it attached?
Why do you say they're all you?
Because they're coming in my mind.
Okay.
So how do I resolve this issue of attachment of the ego to just one of them and not to all of them?
Do you want to do that?
I mean,
No, seriously. Do you really want to be caught with that image only?
I want to be free of all of them.
Okay. So, it's so difficult to be free of all at once. So, it's a good idea that it comes to one, right? But, in the end, that also has to be resolved. So, who do you see as one image always?
Somebody who looks out, I have no idea what form that has in the dream.
Okay. So, don't try to stay with that as much as you can. Don't say, I want to break it or resolve it. Just let it be. One day it will resolve by itself. Stay with it. If you enjoy staying with it, then it's okay. There's another Ratnakar here. She has no questions, you know that. No?
Sir, yesterday we discussed about Sakshi.
Sakshi.
Yeah, you said Sakshi is the witness, the Brahman.
Sakshi means witness,
Yes.
not is the witness.
Yes, witness, Brahman. So when one is speaking, say the speaker is speaking, the Sakshi is witnessing. The Sakshi doesn't have the Kartrutva Bhava, but the Sakshi doesn't have the Kartrutva Bhava.
Kartrutva Bhava, okay.
But the speaking is happening through the speaker. Then who is the Karta?
If you're talking about me, I cannot tell about you.
Yeah.
About me, I can tell.
In general.
This which is here is not speaking anything. It is just sitting down. It is not speaking anything. What is speaking is the sound box, the voice, and the mind through which this is operating. This is always only the witness. It is not involved at all. But the mind, having remained with this for so long, has absorbed ways and means to express what is to be expressed. And it has been trained to use the words appropriate for it.
Trained to use the words?
Words which are appropriate for it. Nowhere is the real self, which is pure witness, engaged in any of this, except to witness it. This is how this operates.
So the self doesn't happen. The witness, the Sakshi is just witnessing, but the Karyam happens.
Yes. When you reach, if you touch or understand the state of pure witness, and the mind wants to convey this to others, it will find its own way of doing it. Sometimes even without words it can be conveyed. The problem is other minds are so cluttered with various things, it's difficult to feel it. If it's uncluttered, no need to talk, no need for all this.
But the Sakshi is also sort of enabling the speaker to speak, right? Or we can't say that.
Sakshi is doing nothing. It doesn't enable. There is no speaker. For the Sakshi, there is no M. This M is a stupid fellow. There is nothing. The wonderful thing is, that is also in true essence you. In true essence. Not as you think. Not the carrier of the Ratna, but I don't know, beyond this I cannot explain it to you. That is why the rishis sometimes get tired. Na vidmo, na vijanimo, yathe tat anushishyat. How do I explain this to you? We're trying our best. What happens is, when you and I are discussing this matter, okay, without any vested interest, let's say, just to understand. You don't want to give me anything, just vested interest. No vested interest. When you're discussing, two of us together, even though you may not find a verbal solution for it, the very fact that we are in a satsang, the mind's frequencies get closer and closer, till when they become the same frequency as this, it flashes into you. It's not verbal, it's really non-verbal. But verbal is necessary because all our lives we have been verbal, right? You cannot grasp it otherwise. So when everything settles down, then you understand. Can you let go of the microphone? You're holding it very hard. It's time actually, but I would still let somebody. Now we sit this side. Yes.
In Keno Upanishad yesterday, one of the shlokas you mentioned is the brave who go, it's a brave person who goes, brave, courage.
Brave, yes, dhira, yes, yes.
It's not the wise, but the brave.
Brave, yes.
Go close to the truth.
Yes. What does that mean?
What is that braveness that the Upanishad was talking? Is it, so you fulfill all your responsibilities, you do whatever you want, you do, and still practice or think about it, but why does it require braveness?
Brave here doesn't mean an emotional bravery. Dhira doesn't mean one who like, oh, doesn't matter, I'll jump across the bridge or something. No, this is not the dhira. Dhira means one who is intelligent and one who is ready to break away all the constraints that hold, to cut down the images that one has created. It's not easy to do that. Suppose I have been trained from childhood that this is the truth, or this is God, or whatever, from childhood. Now when I study, I find that it is only an image that I have. I really don't know about it. The first brave act is to admit this. It's not easy to admit, mind you. Admit it. And if we admit it, how do we break it? It requires a great deal of courage, not to knock somebody on the nose, which is very easy, that bravery. This mind bravery, to say that I am ready no matter what happens, to break this image, this shell that I have created, so that I can see the essence, is what is meant by dhira. It's not to do with outward bravery. Sometimes what we call brave, outward bravery, I'm talking about, brave, say he's not a coward, are people who are actually stupid. The intelligent man wouldn't dare to do that, right? It is stupid that will jump into anything, and this is not what we are talking about. This is first the courage to say that I am wrong and I do not know. Very difficult. That courage first. When that happens, then the courage to break it and move forward also takes place. But for that one has to fully accept it, right?
So the example is there's God in the temple. Is one.
There is God in the temple.
In the temple.
There is also God in this temple.
Okay. So is it the courage that what you want to say that I don't know if there is God there. I see the form, but I don't know.
No, but we don't even know if that form is God.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I see the idol, and I was told there's God in it, but
Yes.
I do not see the God.
Yes, so the best way to do it would be, I was told so, but I do not see it, so let me see if there is anything in it. This enquiry is what is meant by being brave, not to discard. Let me look into this. It's easy to discard. Discarding is as easy as acquiring, To examine without discarding or acquiring is a very difficult thing. Only with a little bit of courage it can be done. That's what is meant. It's not external, not facing a battle or going. This is not what we are talking about. Upanishad has nothing to do with that. It's to do with your mind and how to deal with it, how to move forward. So that's what it is. I think we have to stop now. So thank you very much. I actually enjoyed these sessions, to be honest. I really enjoyed these sessions, and I hope it didn't get too boring sometimes. I hope so, I know sometimes. But that is the best we can do on a subject like this, In between I tried to crack jokes, but even then, please remember that the Upanishads are the most profound teachings that have come to us from ancient times. One of the most profound. And it's meant for all humanity. It's not meant for anybody. It cannot narrow it down. It is the reader, the teacher of the Upanishad who declares, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, may the whole world be happy. There is no concept of any narrowing down into this or that. It's wide as the ocean. So, this first step in understanding the Upanishad is to set free your mind from narrow confines. Open it up. Brahmavid Brahmaiva bhavati. He who understands the Brahman becomes the Brahman. So, thank you.